Okay, so hello and welcome everyone. And we are starting off with cleaning up. And the focus for this healing session today is going to be moving on. Okay, so sometimes in life, well, most of the time in life, from my experience, there are just things in which that are just not in your control. And we must learn how to be okay with walking away or moving forward with our lives, even when it comes to dealing with individuals that we want to take with us. You know, it's funny. I say to myself, we're thrown into hell. We're born in hell, and we got to get to heaven. When I say these things, heaven and hell is a mindset. I know that religion teaches us that these are places, but to me personally, it is a mindset. And everybody is born into hell. And it is, if it's kind of like if you choose to take on the journey, if you choose to get out of hell, then now you're on this mission, right? So if heaven and hell are a choice, then through our choices, are we choosing what direction that we want to go in? What place do we want to go in? I would always tell myself, it seems like everybody likes hell. What is the point of making it to heaven, but you have nobody to share it with? You know, I stopped questioning myself and I made a decision. And when I made that decision, come to find out that it's not a place to where you arrive at, to where you are alone. But we grieve the ones in which that we leave behind, and sometimes people can fall into what they call survivor's guilt. You feel guilty for surviving, you feel guilty for making it out, but you have to remember it's not easy. And sometimes individuals know, that you're trying to make it out. They want to hold you back. Sometimes they want to try to sabotage you and they want to go because they have the scarce mentality. They have the lack mentality that, there's not enough room for everybody. You have some individuals that just want to get there before you. It's rare that in making your way to the place to where you want to be, that individuals are walking with you. This is where I found spirituality to play a big role within us, me, myself, just as a human being, period. Because it's kind of like through the spirit, through our individuality is really how we get there. So sometimes, you deal with the survivor's guilt because it's levels to it. And sometimes with looking back, you remember the things in which that you have been through to get there. And when you look back, you see others struggling to catch up, or to make it out themselves. It is definitely an individual journey. It's not necessarily a journey to where you go on with somebody else. Because during this time is where you are establishing that relationship with higher powers, higher forces, God, your spirit team. So it has to be an individual journey. Sometimes you find people trying to ride your coattail. You know, it's like they want to jump on your back while you do all the work and they ride you. You know what I was enlightened about today? I was thinking about manifestation. And, you know, I've had a lot of guides tell me that God is not testing you when it comes to manifestation. But in my personal experience, I'm just like, "Ugh, God is definitely testing you." It seems like I'm always tested before the blessing shows up. I never truly understand that. Why take me through the obstacle courses if when it's time for the promise to come through, I'm tested right before I receive it? And that actually determines whether or not I'm going to make it to the next level, you know? So what I came to realize is that, life is like a teacher. And so our experiences are the lessons. We are our own. So let's say life is like a school and we are our own self teachers, and our experiences are our lessons. So when we get to the gate, it's like that is the final test. So if you've learned the lessons, then when it comes time to taking the test, then you should be okay with flying colors. And so when individuals try to get a free ride, when it's time for them to take the test, they know none of the information because they did not put in the work. So they get left behind and you move through the gates. So practically what this looks like is when individuals, it's kind of like they're in this imaginary race. And everybody wants to get to the finish line without actually running the race. So the work in which that you have put into you, sometimes individuals, they envy that. They want that, but they're not willing to put in the work in which that you had to in order to build this person that they see. Sometimes they don't even believe that you are who you say that you are or what they see from you. So they think that they can just look at you, study you, mimic you, and copy you. So this is when we talk about wanting the results without putting in the work. You want the reward without putting in the hard work. And so when it comes time for judgment, which is when we arrive at the gates, individuals find themselves getting left behind. So as much as we want to see the ones that we care about, we love, even if it's just other people in general, we want to see other people make it. Truth is that some of them will not. And so the further you go, the more that you continue to move on, you find that there are less and less people on this journey, period. Rather they're walking with you or rather they're not. Then you find yourself walking alone. But the more that it looks like that you are alone, you're actually gaining more company, because there's more space for your spirit guides, for your ancestors to walk with you. And so therefore, when other individuals try to interfere with your walk, sometimes you're so far ahead of them. It's kind of like the only thing that can stop you is a bullet or a bow and arrow or them or them throwing stones. You know, people love to throw stones and hide their hands. So the journey itself is not easy with going through it. Then on top of that, with having to deal with opposition. So remember that when it comes to you struggling with the survivor's guilt of things, make sure that you are doing your reflection. It was not easy. It was not hard for you. It was not easy for you. It was very hard for you. Then on top of that, other individuals chose to make it hard. The struggle is real. Never feel bad for anybody else who is not willing to put in the work in which that you do. Somebody who has worked hard for their wealth really does not feel bad for an individual begging for handouts. You know, now we all start from humble beginnings. So if that individual has something to offer in exchange, even if it's not much, they will still get the respect from that very wealthy person just because they're trying. They're willing to do something instead of just having their hand out or begging, you know? So remember that no matter where you walk, how far you walk, that God and your spirit team is always walking right beside you. Okay? So, until then, thank you, and we'll talk again.
You feel like giving up, I know you had enough. I know the fight is hard, but keep on going, cause I can see where you're headed. And when I'm not there, better believe that I'm right there, beside you, behind you, walking. Walking next to you, walking.